The Chicago Cubs pitcher development system is in the best shape it has, wait for it, ever been. We talk about it next.
Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Alongside Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy, and this is Locked On Cubs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Please support the show and be a part of the Locked On Cubs community by following and subscribing on all audio platforms. And you can watch, subscribe, and leave a comment on YouTube. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. Sam and I are lifelong fans, taking our passion into discussion with you on all things Cubs. Opening day is 24 days away as we lead off another week in spring training mode. And Cubs pitching has been the main team highlight so far this spring, amplified by the Cubs combining for a no-hitter Friday, a 5-hit shutout Saturday, and as of our recording time Sunday morning, they have allowed one run in their last 28 innings. The pitching is on fire. Sam, hopefully you had a nice weekend. And why has the pitching been a highlight for you so far? And where do you see this going?
Yeah, I had a nice weekend, dipped into the UFC last night, ate a lot of pizza. And you know, you realize on a Sunday morning, you're not 23 anymore when you do that. So, you know,
Right.
just dealing with those ramifications. But I feel really good about the Cubs pitching. I tweeted it out. I believe I tweeted it out. I think it was about Friday night. Mm-hmm. And I said something. I think the tweet was the Cubs pitching development, or the Cubs pitching is in the best shape it's ever been. And yesterday I felt strong enough to tweet out a link from an old show of ours from July when they played when they got swept by the Dodgers. And you titled the episode, you know, player development. You know, Dodgers player development, you know, gap between the Cubs and Dodgers is on, you know, on display. And in that episode, I talked about how the Cubs have to figure out a way to catch up to this pitcher development factory in baseball, right? My cousin Scott and I always joke about it. We're watching a game, we're texting, and here comes some guy on the Padres we never heard of that's throwing 102 and dominating guys, and the Cubs don't have those guys. And you got to remember, last year, even though it's like, Sam, that's not that long ago. What changed? Well, a lot was changing at the time. We just didn't see because it was at the lower levels, right? And now we're finally starting to see the fruits of that labor come out. And I understand it's just spring training. And I understand this episode is going to be a hard one for me because I'm going to sound hypocritical, because I'm going to praise the pitching in spring training. And then we're going to talk about a certain third baseman later. And I'm going to say his hot start really doesn't matter. You have to kind of pick and choose, which I don't like to do.
Yeah.
But Matt, you could just see it, right? Like Cam Sanders comes out a Friday night.
Yeah.
I'm just watching him, and forget the fact he threw a shutout inning. It's not about results. A couple people tweeted at me like, who cares? It's spring training. It's not about the results. It's about how he's popping off the screen. Right? His stuff is popping off the screen to me. Okay? And he's not even a guy we really have on our radar, right? Estrada popping off the screen. Wisniewski popping off the screen. They are starting to figure this out. They are becoming, you know, it's way too early to say this, but you could just see it turning into eventually a pitching factory. And that's the way, I would say, even more so than payroll, that you stay competitive for 8, 9, 10 years at a time, when you could be the team where you get a Tony Gonsolin on the Dodgers and you get the absolute best out of him. You get a Drew Smyly. You get the absolute best out of him. I still think we're a ways away from seeing it absolutely at its peak, but the one thing I have in my back pocket this season, whether the Cubs win 85 games, 90 or 75, is I really feel like they have a plan with their pitching department led by Hoyer, Hawkins, and Breslow and whoever else.
Daniel Moscos.
Yeah, Moscos. And they are executing it. And you know, the big telltale is going to be the young guys, right? The Killians, the Wisniewskis, the Hortons, the Ferrises. And I really feel like those guys are coming into this system at the absolute perfect time. And again, it's just something that we've both have talked about it even before we've had the show. We've been yearning for a very long time. And it's just, you could just see, like, don't you just see the bulk of arms that they have that you're excited about? I mean, we joke about Mark Leiter Jr., who, by the way, threw
it's no joke.
Who threw another scourse. Like he's like probably like the 50th most important arm in the pen. And he showed flashes last year of being really dominant. And Thompson. And anyways, I'm excited about it. I think people need to recognize it. And it's a really important element to a good organization.
The reason why it's not at its peak yet is because, number one, we haven't seen big league results. But number two is it still is a little bit reliever heavy.
Right.
That it is a lot of the bullpen pieces that are popping off the page. I like how you put that, because in that game Friday night, you had two starters, Steele and Assad, and then it went Boxberger, Alzolay, Estrada, Sanders, and Birdie. And the last three was like, well, what is this?
Right.
Because people are throwing 100 miles an hour, a ridiculous slider, a ridiculous maybe even third pitch. And you take a guy like Birdie, who's from this area. I think he's a grade or two lower than me, a Downers Grove kid. Former top prospect with the Twins, had some big league time with the
that's where it starts
with the Pirates, but he's hitting 101. Who am I to say that Nick Birdie is not going to pitch for the Cubs?
You're not.
If he's throwing 101 with a ridiculous slider, he should pitch for the Cubs, especially if you could throw strikes. That's the number one thing that I'm looking at right now, because it is spring training. What is your strike percentage? That's why Caleb Killian, to me, again, we could talk about spring training results, but that's why Killian is a little less attractive to me, because I saw him walk the nation last year.
Right.
He walked the guy in the concession stand.
Right.
But Mark Leiter Jr., 3 innings this spring. How many 3-ball counts has the guy even had?
No.
0 walks. 0. Much less get to a 3-ball count.
And you're going to see guys come up that have great stuff like Estrada last year and run into walks. That's a part of the process.
Sure.
And I think the other reason why it's in its baby phases is they just started this a couple years ago. We talk about this on the show all the time. Things that are happening right now in the organization that are good or bad, you don't see the ramifications for another 2 or 3 years. So we're just now starting to see Jed's pitching plan take aim. It won't be until 25-ish, I'd say, would be where it's like, now you start to see, oh boy, here's Horton, here's Ferris. Look at these guys, churn them out. But it's the beginning stages, and to me, it's just trending in a very positive direction.
Absolutely. So a lot of good things to see from the Cubs on the bump so far this spring. And even the pieces that we do know about, Jamison Tyone on Saturday, 3 scoreless.
Sharp.
And he was really sharp. So I think there's a lot of good signs and a lot of good competition as well, because there truly is bullpen spots available too.
And maybe sometime before March 30th, Brandon Hughes will take the mound.
Yes, he's towing the slab on Sunday. Breaking news.
So today. Okay.
So Sam and I were wondering about Thompson and Hughes entering Saturday's action, and now they would have both pitched over the weekend, which is nice. You know who has gotten a lot of playing time is David Bote. Remember him?
I do.
And could there be another person added to the mix there over at the hot corner? We get into that coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by Built Bar. We know you're looking for a delicious treat that's healthy but actually tasty, so why not try a Built Bar? They're 100% covered in real chocolate, available in unbelievable flavors like churro, peanut butter brownie, and coconut almond. And not sure how they do it, but they fit in 130 calories only 4 grams of sugar, but a whopping 17 grams of protein. You don't have to wait around to get your box anymore. You could, of course, still order at built.com, but now you could get a 4-bar box in cookies and cream, double chocolate, or coconut puffs at your nearest Walmart or Sam's Club. So if you're close to a Walmart or Sam's Club, or go to built.com to get yourself a Built Bar today. Welcome back into Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen. The Cubs have a competition at third base. Patrick Wisdom is a lock, but the list is either at 5, either remains at 5 or up to 6, depending on where you see Chris Morel fitting in. So remaining at 5 or up to 6. Wisdom, McKinstry, Magical, Rios, and now, question mark, David Bote, who was 7 for 11, hashtag big gulp, with a double, triple home run and 4 runs batted in. He's also walked once and struck out none so far in his stint so far this spring. Anything on David Bote in terms of, whoa, that's really different, or, oh, he looks the same, he's just hot. I'm trying to pinpoint what it is, but 7 for 11 is something to take notice of.
Yeah, it is. Look, I was probably the biggest David Bote fan maybe in the organization pre-2018 when he came up and was playing great. I was running through the I told you so's to everybody.
Okay.
I feel like I've seen enough of him where I don't trust. Look, first of all, when I say I don't trust, nobody's going 7. It's not like he's gonna go 14 for 22, right? Like, you don't do that. But I just don't trust it enough. But I guess the more I think about it, when you look at who he's competing against, if he hits 420, 430 in the spring, and you want to bring him up over a certain guy because that third base spot is totally up for grabs, then I guess it's fine. Like, it's not like him coming up at third base really takes away from anything, because it's not going to be Morel. It's just he's not going to start at third base at opening day. So, McKinstry's a veteran. Madrigal's a veteran. I do think Madrigal's going to make the team because of his versatility. So, and you said like Wisdom. So I guess, does it come down to McKinstry v. Bote v. Rios? Is that what it comes down to? I don't know.
Yeah.
Do they end up trading Bote off of this and seeing if they could get some sort of asset back? I don't know. I guess what I'll say is I am not super excited about this. I don't think it's going to translate into David Bote being an asset piece throughout 162 games for the Cubs. But that's just my opinion. That's just from what I've seen, because Bote has done this before. That's the thing. He has flashed greatness
in spring training.
I don't even know about spring training. Is that a fact?
His numbers have always been red hot in the spring.
Yeah, and he has always shown flashes for a couple of weeks at a time, or even a little less than that, of being a really dynamic offensive player. I mean, in 2018, there was a stretch. The Cubs were a 95-win team. They weren't some average team, where he was carrying the offense for about 2 to 3 weeks. He obviously had that famous walk-off grand slam against the Nationals. He had a game-tying home run against the Diamondbacks also that summer. He had a walk-off home run against the Reds that summer. Like, wow. He was like this, oh my gosh, David Bote's great. And then all of a sudden, it just fell off. And when it fell off, it was, this guy cannot hit a high fastball to save his life. I'm not going to lie to you. I've only seen 4 or 5 of his 11 at bats. So if I see him start to hit balls at his letters, or lay off those pitches consistently, we could have a different conversation.
Yeah,
but I just think David Bote's one of those guys that comes in ready to go in the spring. He's taken advantage of some pitching that's not ready and having success, but I can't sit here and be transparent with the audience and lie and say I think that there's going to be a big turnaround here. I don't.
Well, and he not only fell off, he plummeted. He's currently not even on the 40-man roster.
Right.
Somebody that signed a contract extension way back after those famous moments in 18, as you mentioned. As I continue my yellow legal pad roster combinations here by my side, I do see excluding Davis and Mervis, because all the indications are those dudes are going to begin the year at AAA.
And Mervis has had a little bit of a tough couple of days.
The Cubs have 10 players competing for the last 3 bench spots, because aside from the backup catcher that day, whether it's Gomes or Barnhart, those 3 spots really are open. And you have McKinstry, Madrigal, Rios, Morel, although I'm about ready to eliminate him. I think he's going to be a Des Moines opening dayer. Bote, Mastroboni, DeLuzio, Hill, Velasquez, and Talkman. So
yeah,
you have basically. Are we going to eliminate Morel, or what do we do?
I don't think
want to do.
Okay. I don't think we eliminate him because of his versatility. That could sneak him on. For example, something were to happen to Bellinger, he's probably your emergency, backup center fielder. But I agree with you; it's trending in a direction that he starts at Iowa, especially with the way Tauchman's hitting.
So that's 10 guys though for the opening day roster, last 3 spots. And, obviously you'd have to drop somebody off the 40-man if Bote was to be added. But same thing with Tauchman. He's a non-roster player. Same thing with a couple other dudes here. So, we'll see. I do think that it's getting a little comical over at third base. I do wonder if Bote will take some reps elsewhere. I think that could be interesting to me. I don't have any indications they're doing that. That's just me speculating. But if he grabs a glove and heads over to second, or starts taking some fly balls and left or right, I don't know. I don't know if that's a possibility or not. But I do know that if you hit, they're going to try to find a spot for you. And even if the Cubs could capitalize on a couple week stretch to begin the year in the cold and the wind of David Bote, maybe that's something they pursue as well. But it is March 5th as we record, so we'll see if he keeps up his run like he has. But I think for me, it's actually been fun to see.
Yeah,
because people didn't even know he was on the roster. Well, now he's 7 for 11.
So I pulled up Bote's numbers from last year, or from in his career. I will say I didn't realize, because I think a lot of it was done when I kind of was checked out. But last year he played 41 games. He was worth 1 win above replacement in 41 games. If you just do some simple math, that's over a 3 WAR pace, which is fantastic for somebody like Bote.
Wow.
He hit 259. He had a 746 OPS, good enough for a 109 OPS plus. He was an above average hitter in 41 games last year. The year before, he was absolutely atrocious. 97 games, he batted 199 with a 606 OPS. So yeah. I guess, yeah. Listen, if you were to tell me David Bote last year, David Bote, if he hits 259 with 4 homers and 12 RBIs in 41 games, that measures out to basically, about 15, 16 homers over a full year. He hits 259. He could be my starting third baseman. That would be good enough. I don't know that that's in there. And the other thing with Bote is he's always been very injury prone, and defensively he's very weird. He'll make plays that are just absolutely absurd, and he has really a lot of trouble with the routine. So he's in the mix. I think not being on the 40-man eventually will probably be the difference. I don't think they're going to want to cut a guy to bring David Bote on.
Yeah, could be.
I think that's just a simple economic class, macro 101 about opportunity cost. Bringing in David Bote versus cutting another guy. Is the juice really worth the squeeze on that? Probably not. So maybe they trade him. We'll see.
Jed Hoyer said the Cubs may still add a free agent between now and opening day, and reports have the Cubs in on a few left-handed relievers who have since been signed. We'll tell you who's still available and who they might sign coming up next. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. They have simple tools like screening questions that make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. For example, the Cubs are trying to interview and hire for their third base position. Right now, they have 47 people competing for that spot. David Ross, Jed Hoyer, they're going to try to whittle that interview process down. We'll see what they come up with. But that's what LinkedIn Jobs does as well. They find out who's looking for hiring, who's available, who rates well, and that's why LinkedIn Jobs rates well. Ranked number 1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnMLB. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnMLB to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back to Locked On Cubs. Thanks for making us your first listen every day in your ears. Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, ad-free with Amazon Prime, and more. The lefty reliever market is dwindling down. Or is it dwindling down? Whittling down? I think I just combined words.
Dwindling.
Regardless, thank you, Sam.
No, you're lucky. You're lucky I teach English.
Will Smith is off the board. He signed for 1 year, 1.5 M's with the Rangers. Brad Hand off the board as well. 1 year, 2 M's with the Rockies. So that leaves 2 lefties remaining. Let's get to Mike Minor first, who has been both veteran players. So Mike Minor and Zach Britton. Minor has been a starter almost his entire major league career, including 19 starts last year with the Reds, in which he posted a 6.06 ERA. Perhaps could be rejuvenated by a relief role. Don't really see the point of that, given all the pieces that are currently in the Cubs landscape in the pen. So I really think it is Britton is the one option here.
Yeah.
Britton is one of the most accomplished arms of our time, Sam.
Yeah, you don't have to tell me about Britton. Very familiar with him. Do you have the numbers in front of you? Because I'm familiar with Britton. From about 2013 through 2018, he was as good as it gets. Had many
14,
years.
15, and 16, he had an ERA that started with a 0 or 1.
Right. The problem with Britton, and the reason why you do this is because it's one of those calculated risks, is he hasn't really thrown a full season since 2019. Last year, I believe he only threw like an inning or 2/3 of an inning with the Yankees. Year before he was banged up. Year before was COVID. But yeah, through 2013, 2014 through 2019, he's one of the 2-3 best relievers in baseball. His role here is going to be so marginal that he probably could be good enough to succeed. It's probably going to cost you $2 million. I always find it odd why it takes so long for the relievers to get signed. It feels like the easiest negotiation, but I guess it isn't. I would be fine with it just as some Hughes insurance. And I'll go as far as to say I think they're going to sign him. I'm cool with it. It's like a Robertson signing, except he was better, obviously, at his peak than Robertson. You're going after a guy that hasn't been good for a while, and you're seeing if you could get a resurgence from him. And Jed Hoyer's proved that to be pretty good at that. Britton is a sinker baller, the heaviest sinker maybe in baseball. Always was at the top of the league in ground balls. Per appearance or per hitter or ground ball rate, whatever metric you want to use. A phenomenal weapon if Ross used him correctly, where it's like, hey, 7th inning of a game, bases loaded, one out, first and second, one out, Yelich is up. Not only do you get to go left on left, but you're basically have like a 75% chance you're going to get a ground ball. And that's all. I mean, just ask Yan Gomes. You're always one ground ball away from killing a rally. So, no, excited about it. Think it makes sense. And
me too.
I think it gets done.
Okay, well, that's good news. I'm excited about that as well. I think health and price has delayed it so much. He was looking for a higher AAV, but now he sees his peers. And so I think you said the number. I think 2M's gets it done. And that would be the 10th addition via free agency for the Cubs. So we'll keep our eye on that. I think that can get done possibly before we hit the air next. This week, we're going to talk some opening day starter stuff, leadoff hitter conversation, and a World Baseball Classic preview as well.
Go Israel.
On all things Cubs. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for our show on YouTube and smash the like button on all your favorite Locked On Cubs content. Seeing a lot of great feedback so far from my dad and my uncle being on Friday's episode.
Tremendous.
Have really enjoyed seeing that. And you can drop us a text this week as well, 312-834-4634. Thanks for making us your first listen every day. Now make your second. Locked On Fantasy Baseball. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Locked On Fantasy Baseball, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. For Sam Olber, I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.